Hello again then Hollows, and welcome to another video on this channel. In this video I'm going to be discussing my recent experience with my Dark Souls 1 Soul Level 1 playthrough. Now, I started off a Let's Play on this channel. I didn't finish the Let's Play because I generally stopped Let's Plays as a whole because people didn't really seem to be enjoying them. I'll put up a poll. This is a good update really for people that don't see my community posts. I stopped doing the Let's Play videos because I put up a poll and people generally voted that they would rather me not do the Let's Play videos and instead focus on more scripted content on the channel and higher quality content as a whole, instead of doing those Let's Play videos which were, let's say, not as good, I suppose, in terms of quality, because generally Let's Plays, they're not, are they? I did start doing more edits and things on them, but people generally weren't. I was only getting a few hundred views, and then the Bloodborne videos weren't getting that many either, so I thought, let's just cut it there. So anyway, I finished my Soul Level 1 Let's Play on the original Dark Souls, and that's my second Soul Level 1 Let's Play anyway, but this Soul Level 1 Let's Play, this Soul Level 1 playthrough was... I did all the bosses, and I also tried to generally limit myself a bit in terms of upgrades for the most part, especially when I got to the DLC. I didn't want to cheese bosses like Manus or Artorias. I wanted to really try and enjoy them and enjoy the fight as much as possible and get the most out of it. So this video is just generally going to be me discussing my opinions on doing a Soul Level 1 in Dark Souls and the flaws that it generally has. Because I feel like Soul Level 1 runs in general get harder as the series progresses. Dark Souls 1 probably has the easiest Soul Level 1, primarily because of pyromancy, which is the #1 thing which I think they made sure to nerf in the future, in future entries. There's no mechanic like that in any other entry in the franchise as far as I'm aware. That's off the top of my head. Feel free to correct me down below if you feel like I'm talking a load of shit. But the Soul Level 1 experience, I think, is really good for anybody that's a massive fan of the Dark Souls franchise. I'm pretty sure you all know this because you're all fans of the Dark Souls franchise for the most part if you're on this channel, aside from a few new people that I've probably got recently. But the main thing I did get that initial Dark Souls experience again, doing that Dark Souls Soul Level 1. Because the first time I did a Soul Level 1 run, I was sort of cheesing mechanics, you know, when I did it not for the playthrough, but when I did it before then. I was sort of cheesing mechanics. I was, you know, exploiting bosses a little bit and generally doing it in a more overpowered way, generally. But when I did it with this recent Let's Play, I was a little bit, especially with like Ornstein and Smoke, because it's a notorious blockade for everybody, isn't it? Ornstein and Smoke. Getting past that is a bloody hard thing to do, especially Soul Level 1 when generally you can only take like 2 hits and then you're dead. So I did sort of exploit a few mechanics with that, using the pyromancy upgraded. I got the extra powerful pyromancy hand that you get from that woman down in Blighttown, and then I upgraded as much as possible by grinding souls and things, and then I upgraded it, and that's how I generally got through Ornstein and Smoke. But with that aside from that, I feel like it was an honest run, Soul Level 1 run. And it really did bring back that initial Dark Souls experience, which I really liked. I really enjoyed that. Of, you know, it being brutally difficult and you having to really master a boss on a whole new level to be able to actually get through it, which I really enjoy, and especially with Dark Souls 1 as well. I really like that aspect of things. And I feel like doing it made me almost feel like, in a way, the games nowadays, Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring, have become almost like a Soul Level 1 of Dark Souls 1. And what I mean by that is, in Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2, you generally could get through a boss fight without having to memorize a boss's attacks like crazy. You generally could. Like Taurus Demon, for example, you don't have to memorize his attacks, do you, to beat him? You know, Capra Demon, you don't have to memorize his attacks to beat him. You don't have to memorize any boss's attacks on a regular playthrough of Dark Souls 1 or Dark Souls 2, I don't feel like. And that's the reason why Artorias was very much a real challenge to people. And that's the reason why people enjoyed Artorias so much, was because you had to do that. You had to actually watch and memorize his attacks to beat that fight. That's the only way to do it. You can't just go in there and attack, you know, just like get a somewhat powerful weapon and just sort of cheese it. You can't really do that with Artorias, to be honest. And so I think nowadays, Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, Elden Ring, they are almost like doing a Soul Level 1 of Dark Souls 1, because you have to do that. To complete Dark Souls 1, Soul Level 1, and to complete Elden Ring or Dark Souls 3, you have to actually memorize the boss's attacks. You can't just go in there and hope for the best and end up winning if you just smash your head against that wall over and over and over again. And I think that's the main difference. I think that really does show that the series has really amped up the difficulty throughout time. It has. Like, to a crazy level when you really think about it. I just don't think everyone always notices it as much. Like, Dark Souls 3 is a big step up from Dark Souls 2 when you really think about it. Like, I don't think everyone always realizes just how much of a big step up Dark Souls 3 actually is. Like, when I first played Dark Souls 3, it took me a while to get past Iodex Gundyr, mainly because of that, because you have to change how you play the game. Because it's much, not just because it's faster, it is because it's much faster, but also because of the fact that you have to really react a lot more. And reaction time is a much bigger thing in Dark Souls 3, and even more in Elden Ring, but to crazy, unfair levels in Elden Ring. And I think that's the main thing that I really noticed doing this recent playthrough, is that I feel like a regular playthrough nowadays is what a Soul Level 1 run used to be back in Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2. But nowadays that's just the regular experience, is that you have to do that. It's almost like, in fact, I'll put it like this. I would say a run in Elden Ring is like a Soul Level 1 run in Dark Souls 1, except you can take an extra hit, probably. I'd say generally, with the only exception probably being, what's her face, that crazy, Michaela or whatever, that crazy woman that no one can ever beat. Her. Except for her, because she generally kills you in 2 hits. Except for her, generally you can take 1 extra hit, I think. So generally you can take 3 hits before you die in Elden Ring. Generally, across the board, I'd say. I don't know if you agree with that. But, so that's what it's like. And I feel like it's almost an issue in a way, where the games have sort of reached a point of difficulty nowadays where I do feel like sometimes the difficulty takes precedence over the experience and atmosphere of a boss. Sometimes the bosses in Elden Ring just become too difficult, where they're not fun to beat anymore. You know? It's not as fun to beat them. And even when you memorize the attacks, sometimes they have bullshit hits where just like there's no way you could have seen that coming in a million years, because a combo can go into 2 different things potentially. So they can start a combo and go one way, and then start another combo, or start the same combo and go a different way and do a different attack. So there is a lot of bullshit in Elden Ring, but still, I feel like that is generally the biggest comparison nowadays. And I think Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2, to me, I find, I'm not saying Dark Souls 2 is a better game. I'm definitely not saying that. But I can sort of go to Dark Souls 2 and just enjoy a more casual playthrough without having to always go into try-hard mode, like I do have to with Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring. I can't just go into Elden Ring and chill out and just sort of say, this is my casual game now. I'm going to go and play this when I'm tired after a long day at work, whatever. I can't just go and play Elden Ring. I'll go and play Dark Souls 1, because I can actually, when you understand the mechanics of Dark Souls 1, it's not a hard game, really. It's just that most people didn't really want to commit and understand the mechanics of it. But it's not really a hard game once you actually understand the mechanics of it, which is the reason why I can go and just chill out and play Dark Souls. That's my go-to game for anything. Whenever I'm stressed or tired or whatever, I go to Dark Souls 1 and just have a casual playthrough generally, and I enjoy it. But you can't do that with Elden Ring and Dark Souls 3. And I feel like that's the main takeaway for me from doing this recent Soul Level 1 run, is that it just, it's different. The games have changed a lot more than sometimes I think I realise. And they still very much are, the whole series, they always are, to me, the pinnacle of games. because the games are masterpieces, all of them, even Sekiro, and I don't really enjoy Sekiro. It still is a masterpiece. It's a fantastically crafted, amazing experience, which is above and beyond almost all video games that are released nowadays. But I still feel like that is an important takeaway for me, I think, is that the games, they are a bit different nowadays. It's leaning towards unfair difficulty, which I think is what the games didn't originally used to be about. And I think Elden Ring is that. It sometimes leans towards unfair difficulty. Excuse me. That hasn't happened to me for a long time, when your voice just sort of goes croaky as you're talking. You have to clear your throat. It doesn't happen to you very much. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Maybe you can share this video with anyone who majority of it was good enough. Thank you again for watching. This is SoulReborn signing out. Have a good one.